because whether people understand it or not, there is a certain amount of and depth that comes along with the game. That's a part of doing business.
That goddamn MC Hammer, very serious about beef. Y'all motherfuckers laugh and y'all joke about Hammer. No. Anybody who talk come to the Bay Area, they was in for. Once again, therefore we're gonna make sure he get his credit and make sure it's served. Definitely doing that.
Hammer, you feel at home?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, me and she'll go back 10 years, so it's another day.
I know who Hammer was affiliated with, and he wouldn't have to pay to tell somebody up. His people would just do it. We from Oakland. Like he wouldn't even have to say it.
Hammer was raw dog. He did his thing. I actually used to like him.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying, on the real tip. People be talking shit about Hammer, but run up on it.
Hammer beat your
I bet he'll beat your
monk ass. Run up on Hammer.
If you thought MC Hammer was just about baggy pants and dance moves, think again. Hammer's story goes way deeper than that. Behind the flashy outfits and catchy beats, Hammer had serious street ties, and his crew, the High Street Bank Boys, had a reputation that shook up the industry. These weren't just some guys hanging around for clout. They were a real East Oakland crew known for their fearless, no-nonsense attitude. Hollywood and the music industry didn't know what to do with Hammer. On one hand, he was this family-friendly mainstream artist making millions. On the other, he was tied to one of the most notorious crews in Oakland, and that made him untouchable in ways you wouldn't expect. Rappers and execs underestimated him because of his music, but behind the scenes, Hammer and the High Street Bank Boys had people shook. Rumor has it that Hammer once stepped to MC Search from third base for dissing him in a song, reportedly offering a bounty to anyone who could bring Search to him. And let's not forget when he allegedly sent a warning to Suge Knight himself, letting him know that Oakland wasn't to be messed with. And Hammer didn't just rely on his crew, he was fearless all on his own. But the street ties meant people thought twice before crossing him. The High Street Bank Boys didn't just give Hammer credibility, they made sure his name carried weight in the streets and the boardrooms. So was Hollywood scared? You bet. Hammer proved you could mix business with a whole lot of fearlessness, and that's why his legacy is untouchable.
Yo, his entourage was something like I never seen in my life. Like it was literally
100 people.
More than 100 people, probably.
That's
like,
actually how he. That's actually
but it
how
was
he,
girls, guys, gangsters, dancers,
everybody.
Everybody.
No, listen,
like,
I grew up.
When most people think of MC Hammer, they picture the parachute pants, the high-energy dance moves, and his smash hit, You Can't Touch This. But what most folks don't know is that Hammer wasn't just a music and dance icon. He had real street ties, and his association with the High Street Bank Boys, a notorious crew from Oakland, California, was a major part of his backstory. While Hammer leaned on his clean, mainstream image for the cameras, behind the scenes, his connection to his crew gave him an edge that few in the industry dared to challenge. To understand why MC Hammer was both respected and feared, you have to look at where he came from. Born Stanley Kirk Burrell, Hammer grew up in Oakland, California, a city known for its rich culture and rough streets. Back in the 70s and 80s, Oakland wasn't an easy place to navigate, especially in areas like East Oakland, where Hammer spent much of his childhood.
Hammer was born Stanley Kirk Burrell. One of 8 kids, he and his family lived in East Oakland, a poor, depressed neighborhood, aptly described as inner city.
It's very, very tough to live in that type of an environment and survive.
It's even tougher when your parents split up and your house burns down, both of which happened to Hammer when he was just 5 years old.
Growing up in Oakland wasn't easy for Hammer, but even as a kid, his hustle was impossible to miss. One of his first jobs came in the most unlikely place, the Oakland Coliseum. In the early 70s, Hammer worked as a bat boy for the Oakland A's baseball team. It was there that baseball star Reggie Jackson noticed him and nicknamed him Hammer, because young Stanley reminded him of Hank Hammer and Hank Aaron. This job didn't just help Hammer cover his first expenses, it also taught him how to network and gave him a glimpse of a world beyond the tough streets of Oakland.
After completing his dance, he recognized me as the owner of the ball club and walked over to me and he said, "Mr. Finley, could you take me into the game as your guest?" And I said, "Yes, I'd be glad to." And I got pretty well acquainted with Hammer.
Finley hired the young kid to be the A's bat boy during their powerhouse years in the early 70s. It was Reggie Jackson who gave young Stanley his nickname after Hammer and Hank Aaron. The transformation into MC Hammer had begun.
Hammer didn't just rely on his baseball connections. His entrepreneurial spirit was always front and center. As a teen, he started selling stray baseballs and souvenirs outside the Coliseum, earning enough cash to make a little name for himself. At the same time, Oakland in the 70s was buzzing with music, activism, and street life, and Hammer soaked up every bit of it. Still, music wasn't his first move. After high school, he joined the Navy, but even there, he was known as the entertainer of the group. When he returned to Oakland, Hammer realized his true passion was music. He started performing at local clubs, blending rap with dance, and funded his first record by selling tapes straight out of the trunk of his car. To take things to the next level, Hammer secured two $20,000 loans from Oakland A's players Mike Davis and Dwayne Murphy. That money helped him launch his indie record label, Busted Productions. What started small blew up fast. Busted Productions eventually became Bustin' Records, and between the two ventures, Hammer had over 100 people working for him. He hustled hard to promote himself, and those iconic dance moves made sure no one could forget him.
He couldn't sing and he couldn't play an instrument, but boy, could he dance. His first album, Let's Get It Started, spawned 3 top 10 singles. The transformation into MC Hammer was now complete.
Hammer officially adopted the name MC Hammer and released his debut album, Feel My Power, in 1986. Thanks to his tireless street hustle and strategic local radio play, the album sold over 60,000 copies. Hammer's tracks quickly became staples at Bay Area dance clubs, creating a buzz that just kept growing. His big break came in 1988 during a performance at an Oakland club. Hammer's energy was so electric that a record executive who had never heard of him before immediately knew he was something special. Despite offers pouring in with just any label, he knew his worth and turned down several deals. But when Capitol Records offered a $1.75 million advance, Hammer made his move and it paid off big time. Capitol didn't have to wait long to see a return on their investment. Hammer's career took off like wildfire, with his unmatched stage presence and next-level marketing setting a new standard in the music industry. But Hammer's story doesn't stop at his success as an entertainer. Behind the scenes, he was building a reputation that went far beyond music, one that even the most fearless names in hip-hop didn't mess with. So let's dive into what made Hammer that guy in the industry. First of all, he was closely affiliated with the High Street Bank Boys, a street crew based in East Oakland named after the High Street area in the neighborhood. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Oakland was no stranger to street hustlers and crews carving out their territory, and the High Street Bank Boys were known for their boldness and reputation for handling business with aggression when necessary. They weren't just about survival. They had swagger, money, and influence, a combination that made them both respected and feared in the streets. MC Hammer grew up in this environment and was closely associated with the crew. While Hammer always claimed he wasn't directly involved in their street activities, his connection to the High Street Bank Boys gave him credibility, and their fearless mentality shaped Hammer's approach to both the music industry and personal confrontations. The High Street Bank Boys had a reputation for being relentless. While details about specific incidents are hard to come by, partly because a lot of it was street-level speculation, it's clear they were a crew you didn't want to cross, and their association with Hammer added to this reputation and made people in the industry think twice about underestimating him. One infamous example of this came when MC Hammer allegedly put out a $50,000 bounty on rapper MC Search from Third Base after Search's group had dissed Hammer in their song, The Cactus, in the late 80s with the line, "The cactus turned Hammer's mother out." Fast forward to 2015, and Search revealed that Hammer's brother, Louis Burrell, threatened him during a fight in LA.
All right, so here it is. So Cactus album comes out.
Right.
And people on the West Coast loved it. Like, we just played one time, gaffled them up, and MC8 says, I was in my car bumping the Cactus.
Right.
Album was huge on the West Coast. There was a verse on the album, on the song called The Cactus.
Okay.
That Pete Nice says, the cactus turned Hammer's mother out.
Oh. Okay.
Now, the line was a creative line because his album was called Turn His Mother Out. Yeah. And our album was called The Cactus.
Right.
So we were saying our album was doper, but we were saying it New York slick. Like, we had some slick talk coming out our mouth.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Hammer thought we were talking about us his mom.
Oh.
Yeah. So we have this big event all planned at the Palace in LA.
Uh-huh.
We're giving away a Jeep on K-Day, which was the first, hip-hop station to ever play 24-hour hip-hop.
That's right.
And I've never been to LA. So I'm taking a wife. I got Chantel with me. Pete got his girl with him. Rich got his girl with him. Like, we're excited. Like, we're going to LA. Like, this is a big movement. This is going to be a movie.
Right.
We're in the air. And Carmen Ashurst Watson, who was the president of Def Jam at the time, picks up the phone and hears somebody say, is Third Base on their way to LA? And she goes, yeah. And the voice says, good, they're dead. This is Louis Burrell. And hangs up.
Clearly, Hammer wasn't one to take disrespect lightly, and reportedly told people in his circle that whoever brought Search to him would get the money. While Search later confirmed the bounty story in interviews, it's worth noting that Hammer's reputation alone was enough to make Search back off. In another interview, Search opened up about what happened after he got that threatening phone call and admitted he's still struggling with it. He even said the drama affected him so deeply that he's been going to therapy ever since.
And it's the day after the American Music Awards. And we walk into Greg Mack and we're all excited, and Greg Mack is shaking our hands and we're all happy dappy and, you know, excited to be on the morning show in LA and yada yada yada. Cracks the mic, turns it on, K-Day, you know, da 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 AM, you know, Third Base is here, Poverty Environment, release album party tomorrow at the Palace, and you know, we're giving away the Third Base Jeep. But we got a special person on the phone right now. 5 American Music Awards last night. He's up. He stayed up on our behalf. MC Hammer's on the phone. Hammer, how you doing? Hey, Greg, man, I'm great. Yo, it's great to talk to you. Yada, 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 yada. He goes, yo, I heard you had something you wanted to say to Third Base. He's like, well, you know, I just want to tell him, you know, I don't think it's cool for somebody to, you know, diss their mom in a record. Like, you know, I don't think that's cool. Now, mind you, I never said that lyric. Pete said the lyric, right? So I look over to Pete. You're a rhyme, dude. Say something. Nothing. So I'm like, all right. So I say, you know what? I said, man, if you feel like we dissed your matriarchal, that's okay, but you know what you did. You know what's going on in these streets. Why don't you man up and see me face to face so we can figure this out? Stop being a... He takes a call live. Greg Mack, who's this? Rolling 60 Crip N-word. We finna kill him. Boop! Out! Security grabs us. We run out the building. We get into the van. We start heading down the hill. There's 2 blue cars. And these dudes get out, Mac 11s, pointing at the vehicle. Pookie jumps out, throws his signs up. They get back in, they leave. And when we went to sound check, the entire Palace, which is across the street from the Capitol building, you know, is circled by blue vehicles. Because the Rolling 60 got like 50,000 members. So they can't get to everybody. And we can't not show. Like, it's not gonna happen. Big D is with Mike Conception the whole time. He's standing next to him. He goes to a recording session for We're All in the Same Gang. Hammer's there. Hammer and Mike have words. I don't know what was said. I heard it was something to the effect of Hammer asking Mike, why weren't they dead yet? And he says it in front of Big D. They figure out that the only way to protect us to get into the Palace that night is we have to go in as security. So we're in Kevlar, I think it was ACS Security was the name of the security company. We got the jackets, we got the hats, we got dark glasses. I'm saying goodbye to my girl. She's crying at the Hyatt because they want to make sure we get in first and yada yada. So we're in a dark van and we see nothing but dudes just circling the venue. We get into the venue. If you had blue socks, they told you to leave the building. But my biggest issue to this day is I can't get over it. Because I would love to get to a place in my life where I could just give him a pound and be like, it's in the past. Like, understand, like, and have an understanding, like, yo, it was just a witty rhyme. Your name of your album was Turn This Mother Out. Our album was The Cactus. The Cactus turned Hammer's mother out. It was a dope line. I'm good. I'm not good. I've gone through 25 years of therapy 3 days a week. I am not good. I wish I could be good. But when somebody tries to over a rap lyric?
Another story that's floated around involves Hammer sending a strong message to none other than Suge Knight. In the early 90s, Suge was building his empire at Death Row Records and was known for his intimidating tactics in the music industry. But when he supposedly tried to take that same energy to Hammer's circle, Hammer reminded Suge that Oakland streets operated differently. And allegedly, Hammer's high street connections played a role in this warning. While the exact details are murky, it's said that Hammer made it clear Suge needed to tread carefully if he wanted to do business in Hammer's backyard. And for someone as feared as Suge Knight, that's saying something. The High Street Bank Boys represented a level of authenticity that many rappers at the time claimed to have, but couldn't actually back up. Hammer's success made him a target for jealousy and disrespect, but his crew's reputation ensured that any beef with him came with real risks. Whether it was industry executives trying to take advantage of him or rival artists throwing shade, people knew there was more to Hammer than his music. Hammer's association with the High Street Bank Boys wasn't just about protection. It also shaped his personality and gave him a different type of confidence and resilience. Even as Hammer's crew soared and he distanced himself from the street life, the influence of the High Street Bank Boys never left him. Their mentality of hustle, loyalty, and fearlessness remained a core part of his identity. And while Hammer's mainstream success eventually faded, his legacy as a pioneer in both music and business remains intact, thanks in no small part to the foundation he built with the High Street Bank Boys. What makes Hammer's story so fascinating is the duality of his life. He was a groundbreaking artist with mainstream appeal, but he was also deeply rooted in the streets of Oakland. This balance between mainstream success and street credibility is rare, and it's one of the reasons Hammer's story still resonates today. So the next time you think of MC Hammer, remember, he wasn't just a flashy entertainer. He was a man who came from the streets, stayed true to his roots, and leveraged his connections to build an empire. As for the High Street Bank Boys, they weren't just a footnote in his story. They were a key part of what made MC Hammer an icon both in and out of the music world. But what's your take on MC Hammer and the High Street Bank Boys? Did you know about their influence in the industry and Hammer's reputation as one of the most feared rappers ever? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't miss out on this next video.